How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Lamed Dalet, Daf 34 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends, your friends. Okay, so today Gevaldige Daf. We really have to do Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. We have to do the entire Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, and the entire Lamed Dalet from Aleph. But again, these dafs are not very big dafs, so I imagine we're not talking about a very long daf today. So anyways, but some very, very gishmak stuff, alright? Does that work? Does that work for everybody? Gishmak? You like gishmak? Alright, daf Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. Wait, what's today? Okay. Who was it? Okay. Yeah, alright. Okay, Lamed Gimel Amud Beis, all the way, honestly, the top line. Okay, gewaldig. This whole daf is very gewaldig. Okay, so Ruvain says that this field belongs to my forefathers. Shimon says this same field belongs to my forefathers. Okay, so again, Hi, I see sided avose huva. Hi. Okay, so Ruvain brings witnesses that it belonged to his forefathers. V'hai I see sadeh de ochol shnei chazaka. Shimon brings witnesses that he's been there for 3 years and he has a chazaka. Omer Rav Chizde says, Rav Chizde malo l'shaker. Why should Shimon lie? Iboy omer le minoch zavinto v'achalta shnei chazaka. Because Shimon, after all, Shimon's got witnesses who are testifying that he's been there for 3 years. So it's just a short technical leap. Is that what they say? A short technical leap. Shimon has witnesses that he has a chazaka. All he now needs to say is, and I bought it from you, and he's gold. Right? If Shimon was lying, he would say, look, I have witnesses that I have a chazaka, and I bought it from you. So it's mine, right? I bought it from you. I have a chazaka on it. I don't have the document anymore. It's been 3 years. It's my field. So Rav Chizda says, because he didn't say that, right? So meaning, if he was lying, he would have said, I have a chazaka and I bought it from you. So therefore, we could trust him when he says that it's his field, Betzim. It's his field and he has a chazaka on it. The only problem with that is that, so Rav Chizda, Omer Rav Chizda says, Rav Chizda malo l'shaker. Why should Shimon lie? We should trust Shimon. Because if he wanted to lie, if he wanted, once Shimon has the witnesses that he has a chazaka, he could have easily just said, if he was a liar, that I bought it from you, and I made a chazaka. So therefore, but he didn't say that, he didn't lie. So we can assume that he's an honest person, and therefore the field is his. It was his forefathers. And it belongs to him. Abai and Rava lo yisvir lu Rav Chizda, but Abai and Rava are not on board with Rav Chizda just saying mali l'shaker here, because mali l'shaker b'makom edim lo amrinon. I think we saw this recently, that mali l'shaker is a svara. It's a theory. We say, look, it's logical to say that we telling the truth. Because if he was lying, he would have said that he bought it and he has a chazaka. So therefore, we assume that he's telling the truth and that it belongs to his forefathers. The problem with that is that Reuven already brought witnesses that is his forefathers. So we can't use this theory, right? Again, what are the claims? Reuven saying that this field was my forefathers. Shimon saying the field was my forefathers. Reuven's witnesses say that it was his forefathers. Shimon's witnesses say that Shimon has a chazaka. Rav Chizda now wants to say, well, because Shimon's witnesses are that he has a chazaka, he could theoretically lie and say, I bought it from you and I have a chazaka on it, but he's not saying that, he's not lying, therefore he's an upright individual, and therefore we could trust that it was his forefathers. The problem is that Reuven has witnesses against that claim. Reuven has witnesses saying that it's Reuven's forefathers. So this theory, which we want to use to conclude that Shimon's telling the truth and that it belonged to his forefathers, goes right against witnesses that Reuven has brought that say that it was his forefathers. So we're not gonna. So when you compare, when you line up I don't know if that's the right word, compare, a svara, a theory with witnesses, obviously the witnesses win against the theory. So, therefore, they don't agree with Rav Chizda because Mali l'shaker b'mokem edim lo amrinon. We do not say Mali l'shaker against witnesses, right? When that theory of Mali l'shaker is up against witnesses. Which is also interesting because Rava was a son-in-law of Rav Chizda. But okay, say it. Let's go weiter. My boys be'ayara. Shimon says to Reuven, what are you doing on my property? Reuven says to Shimon, what do you mean, what am I doing on your property? It's my property. Minoch zabni v'achata shnei chazaka. I bought it from you, and I've been it for 3 years. It's mine. Ozal I see saidi de achla tarte shnei. Reuven then went and he produced witnesses, but the witnesses were only able to testify that Reuven had been there for 2 years. So Reuven is claiming that he bought the field from Shimon and that he's been there for 3 years, but the witnesses can only testify about 2 years. So be'etzem, we can't rely upon this chazaka. We need witnesses for 3 years, which we don't have. Therefore, we say, Reuven, sorry, we need a document. He doesn't have a document, so he loses the field. And Rashi says, Davka, for the next part, Davka, if there are witnesses who are saying, and this is going to be important for later on as well, that there are witnesses who are saying that, or testifying that Reuven's been eating from the field for the past 2 years. So Rav Nachman's about to say that Reuven needs to give back the field, okay, because he doesn't have a chazak on it, and he lost the document, or who knows what, maybe he never had a document, whatever. He doesn't have a chazaka, he doesn't have a shtar, so he definitely loses the field. Sorry, got to rub it nose. Sorry, Bob. So he definitely loses the field. And in terms of the fruits, if there are witnesses who are testifying that he's been eating the fruits for the past 2 years, so then he's got to give those back as well. Rav Nachman says, Rav Nachman, Hadra Ara, the field goes back to Shimon, V'Hadra Pere, as well as the fruits. Rav Zvid, says Rav Zvid, Im To'an ve'omar leperis yoradati. Now, says Rav Zvid, if the situation were that Shimon says to Reuven, what are you doing on my field? And Reuven doesn't say that I own it. Reuven says, I own the rights to the fruits. Well, in that case, Naaman, Reuven would be believed, Lav Miyam Rav Yehuda, because after all, did Rav Yehuda not say, Haiman Dinokit Magola V'Sovlaya, a person who's got a scythe? What's a scythe? I feel like I've asked that in the past. And I guess I don't really learn so good. What's a scythe? Is it like a sickle? Because isn't a magel a sickle? So what's a scythe? Is it a sickle? Is a scythe a sickle? Dennis, what do you say? V'sovlai in a rope. V'amr ezel igadre ledikla deflanya, and he says, I'm going to harvest so-and-so's palm tree. Dizavne li'ali, because he sold me the fruits. Mehemen, he's believed. L'chotzev inish degozer dikla delavdile. Because a person will not be so chutzpahdik as to harvest somebody else's palm tree. So therefore, so long as Shimon's not protesting, if Reuven shows up with his scythe and his ropes, and he's going there to harvest Shimon's palm tree, because he says that Shimon sold him the fruits, we are not going to stop Reuven. Hachanami, here oichit lo chotze finish lemechol perid lavdilei. So here oichit, if Reuven is claiming that he's like a sharecropper and he has the rights to the fruits, so we are not going to stop him. If that's the case, ara nami, then why don't we say the same thing about the property, right? A person wouldn't be so chutzpahdik as to go and take ownership of somebody else's property. So Ira Aminan Le Achve Shtarich. Well, by land, we say, hey, show me your document that you bought this land. And if it's been 3 years, then instead you could show a chazaka, but you have to show proof. If that's the case, perinami. Well, if that's the case, then why don't we say the same thing by fruits, right? We said if the guy says, I'm going to harvest Shimon's palm tree, we just assume that he's telling the truth and that he has the rights to Shimon's fruits. Why don't we say, hey, show a document? Shtar lefer le'av the inche, people don't make documents for fruits. Interesting. All right. Fine. How the Amr le'lechabre, Shimon says to Reuven, my boys, be'ayara, what are you doing on my property? Amr le'minoch zabni v'chatishni chazaka. Reuven says, what do you mean, what am I doing on this property? It's mine. I bought it from you. I've been here for 3 years already. And then, I see chad saida de achla tlos shnei. Ho. So, Shimon says to Reuven, what are you doing on my property? Reuven says, what are you talking about? It's mine. I bought it from you. I've been here for 3 years already. So now, if Reuven manages to now bring 2 witnesses that corroborate what he's saying, that could testify that he has a chazaka on the field, that he's been there for 3 years already, well then, that's the chazaka. That's a chazaka. That's a proper chazaka. It belongs to Reuven, right? He says, I bought it from you. I've been here for 3 years, right? And he has witnesses to corroborate that. So he has a chazaka, he has a taina, so it's Reuven's. But in this case, he's only able to find 1 witness to testify that he's been there for 3 years. 1 witness doesn't work. So where am I? So I see chad side of the achlet plus shnei. Sover rabbanon kamida abaye lemeimer hainu naska de Reb Abba. And the rabbis who were in front of Abaye, who were before Abaye, they thought to compare this to Reb Abba's ingit. They thought that this should be the same halacha as Reb Abba's ingit. Who knows what an ingit is? I know what an ingot is, because I just looked it up the other day. An ingot is like a block of like gold or silver. So we're just talking about a silver ingot, like a block of silver. So the rabbis thought to say that this case, where Reuven only has 1 witness to testify about his chazaka, should be similar to Reb Abba's ingot. To the case of Reb Abba's ingot. Reuven chapped an ingot from Shimon. Shimon was walking down the street holding an ingot, and Reuven went and he grabbed the ingot from Shimon. So the Abba, where am I? Also the Abba. Now the case came before Reb Ami. Reb Abba was there. Oichet. I see Chad Saida. So Shimon, who was the victim. So I see Chad Saida demechtov chatva mine. So Shimon brings a witness to testify that Reuven chapped his ingot. So, and you know what Reuven says in response? Amalei in chatvi. Reuven says, yeah, I did chap it. Vididi chatvi, but it's my ingot. Shimon had my ingot. I was chapping what was already mine. I didn't steal it from Shimon. It was already mine. So Reuven says, yeah, I chapped it, but it's my ingot to begin with. So Reb Ami says, what is the halacha in this case? Lishalim, what do we say that Reuven needs to give back the ingot? Lekatre Saide. There's no 2 witnesses. For Shimon to have a case, he has to have 2 witnesses. He didn't bring 2 witnesses. He brought 1 witness who says that that Reuven took the ingot. But 2 witnesses don't make somebody pay, right? And so Reuven's saying, look, it's mine, right? And since there's 1 witness. Right? So Rashbam points out, since there's only 1 witness, so Reuven doesn't have to pay. If he wanted to, Reuven could have just said, I never chapped it bichlal. Right? Again, Shimon's only bringing 1 witness. It's not like he's bringing 2 witnesses to say that he stole it. Shimon brought 1 witness. And Reuven could have theoretically, therefore, just said, I didn't take it at all. But he didn't. He told the truth. He said, look, I did. he said, I did take it, but it's mine. In chatvi v'didi chatvi. So therefore we should say that, he should totally be off the hook. Okay. One second. Yeah, okay. Anyways, fine. So the Shalom, we're going to make Ruvain pay. We're going to make Ruvain pay. We're going to make Ruvain pay. We don't have two witnesses. There's no two witnesses. Lifterei? Okay, fine. So we just say, okay, Ruvain, you can go home. You're dismissed. But ikachad saida. But there's one witness. So meaning one witness can usually be mechayev a shvuah. One witness can usually be mechayev a shvuah. One witness can usually be mechayev a shvuah. Right? So meaning, so therefore, if Shimon comes to court with one witness who testifies that Ruvain chapped his ingot, and Ruvain says, I didn't chap the ingot, so then one witness wouldn't be enough to make Ruvain have to pay for the ingot. Right? So meaning if Shimon's witness says Ruvain chapped the ingot, and Ruvain says, I didn't chap the ingot, so the fact that Shimon brought one witness would at least be enough to make Ruvain have to swear that he didn't chap the ingot. So therefore, how could we say that Ruvain is simply off the hook, he can go home? He should have to swear. But lishtava, how can he swear? But he already admitted that he chapped it. Then he's like a guy, he's ki'ilu, just like we don't trust Gazlanim to swear, we don't trust him to swear. Meaning, we're not saying that we treat him like a Gazlan, meaning, right, the Rashbam kind of explains that just like we wouldn't trust the Gazlan to swear, we also can't trust this guy to swear. Why can't we trust him to swear? Well, because how does the shvuah of the Eid Echad work? As I said like a minute ago, that if Shimon brings a witness that Ruvain chapped his ingot, and Ruvain says, I didn't chap your ingot, well then, Ruvain can swear that he didn't chap the ingot. But here, Ruvain's admitting that he did chap the ingot. So again, meaning, if Shimon's witness says, you chap the ingot, so then the swear that Ruvain would have to swear is that I didn't chap the ingot. But he admits that he chapped the ingot. He's just saying that it's his. So he can't swear in this case. Because the swear would be that he didn't chap it, but he already said that he did chap it. So how could he swear that he didn't chap it? He can't swear that he didn't chap it because he says he did chap it. So what do we do? In order to make Ruvain pay, we'd have to have two witnesses. We don't have two witnesses. We also can't just tell him to go home because there is one witness. One witness would be mechayev shvuah. But he can't actually take a shvuah because he admitted that he stole it. And the shvuah would have to be that he didn't steal, but he admitted that he did. So what do we do, Chaver? So, Amalei Reb Abba says to Reb Ami, have a mechuyev shvuah she'eno yochel lishava. Well, this is a scenario of somebody who is chayev to swear, but can't swear. Right? There's a witness, there's an Eid Echad. An Eid Echad is mechayev shvuah. So Reuven should have to swear, but he can't swear because he already admitted it. So he needs to swear, but he can't swear. The halacha is, as we learned before, we learned the concept of Asek Shvuah. But anyways, somebody who's Chayav Shvuah, but for whatever reason, for technical reasons, he can't swear, so he has to pay. So therefore, Abba says that the halacha is that Reuven would have to pay for the ingot, because he'd be Chayav Shvuah, but he can't swear, so he has to pay for the ingot. And therefore, the rabbis wanted to assume, the rabbis by Abaye, applying it now to our case, where Shimon says to Reuven, what are you doing on my property? And Reuven says, I bought it from you and I've been here for 3 years, but he only brings one witness that he's been there for 3 years. So the rabbis in front of Abaye who were by Abaye wanted to say that it's the same halacha that essentially that Reuven should have to pay. The thing is, I should have to, I guess, give back the field. But the thing is, Abaye says to them, "Mi dummy, you can't really compare these cases. They're very different." Hasam saide le'orue ka'asi. In the case of the ingot, the Shimon's witness was testifying against Ruvain, and therefore it was on right. And as the Gemara now says, and if Shimon would have managed to get a second witness to testify against Ruvain, mafkinan la mine, we would have taken away. For sure, we would have taken away the ingot from Reuven and given it back to Shimon if he had two witnesses. Reuven's argument that it belongs to him would not work against two witnesses. So in the case of the ingot, the witnesses are working against Reuven, and we're saying, look, he needs to swear because there's an eid echad, but he can't swear because he already admitted, so he has to pay. But in our case, but in Reuven's case, he brought a witness to support his claim that it's his field and that he has a chazaka on it. So here it's punkt fakert. Reuven's the one bringing the witness to support his claim that he has a chazaka, and kiyasa achrino, and if he would have managed to find a second witness, well then we would say, oh, Givaluk, there's two witnesses that he has a chazaka, and he's saying that he bought it from Shimon, mukmina la biyadeh, then we would grant Reuven the property. So these are not same cases, right? Yeah, we say in the case of the ingot, Reuven has to pay, but why should we say here, which is the opposite case that Reuven would have to pay, here the witness is coming to support Reuven? So Ella, rather idamya ha Reb Abba, rather if you want to compare the case with the property to the case with the ingot, lechad saide v'letaite shnei v'laperi. We'll be talking about where Shimon brings one witness that Reuven has been eating the fruits for 2 years, and this is what I mentioned earlier, right? If you remember the previous case, right? The previous case was, it's the same claim, right? Shimon says to Reuven, what are you doing on my property? Reuven says to Shimon, I bought it from you and I've been here for 3 years, but the witnesses, he brings two witnesses, but they only said that he's been there for 2 years. So basically, he doesn't prove the chazaka. So we say that in that case, Reuven doesn't have a document, he doesn't have a chazaka, so the property goes back to Shimon. And in that case, we said that the fruits, that the Reuven also has to pay Shimon for the fruits that he ate for 2 years. So, and I had pointed out that, I think I had probably mentioned that the Rashbam says that Reuven only needs to give back the fruits to Shimon if there are witnesses who testify that Reuven has been eating the fruit. But if there are no witnesses to testify that Reuven's been eating the fruit, then he wouldn't have to give them back to Shimon. So now in our Gemara, here at the end of Lamed Daled and Aleph, we're saying, what's the case that would be similar to Reb Abba, to the ingot? If Shimon says to Reuven, what are you doing on my property? Reuven says, I bought it from you and I have a chazaka. And he doesn't manage to find witnesses to prove the chazaka. So therefore he has to obviously give the property back to Shimon. What about the fruits? So we said that, well, if Shimon can find witnesses that Reuven has been eating the fruits, well then Reuven would have to pay back Shimon for the fruits as well. But Shimon only finds one witness to testify that Reuven has been eating the fruits. So now it's already, and you know what Reuven says? He says, yeah, I've been eating the fruits, but they're my fruits. I bought the field. They're my fruits. So this is a very similar case, right? What happened with the ingot? Reuven took Shimon's ingot. Shimon brought a witness that Reuven took the ingot. Reuven says, yeah, I took the ingot, but it's my ingot. What's going on in our case? Shimon brings a witness to say that Reuven has been eating his fruits. Reuven says, yeah, I've been eating the fruits, but they're my fruits. So again, what do? We can't make Reuven pay because we don't have two witnesses, right? We also can't say, Reuven, you can keep it, no problem, because we have one witness, and therefore he should have to swear. But what would he have to swear? He'd have to swear that he didn't eat the fruits. But he says, I did eat the fruits, but they're my fruits. So therefore, this is the same case. And in that case, the halacha would be, well, he needs to swear, because there's an eid echad, but he can't swear so he's going to have to pay instead. I'm telling you, Cheskas Abatim has been so interesting so far because it's like all the intensity of like Bava Kama and Bava Metzia, but without the amount that turns your brain to mush. Like my brain, if this page would be like 3 times as long, for sure my brain would be mush, without a doubt. Reuven, Shimon, witnesses, chazakas, and this and that, and claim of this and Eid Echad, but he says my brain of course would turn to mush. But these dashes aren't long enough. They end before your brain gets mushy. It's just like just the right amount of intensity. It's very nice. How Arva da Avu Minsu Ola Bei Trey. Reuven and Shimon were arguing about a boat. Hi Omar Didi, hi Omar Didi. Each one says it's mine. What do? There's one boat, both people want it. Also Chadminayu Levedina, now one of them comes to Bezdin. Omar, and he says to Bezdin, hey, Tifsua, can you just chop the boat for us? I don't want him taking the boat. Bezdin, can you just take the boat? Adamaisina Saide, until I have an opportunity to bring witnesses, the Didi, that the boat is mine. Okay? So Reuven says the boat is mine, Shimon says the boat is mine. One of them goes to Bezdin and says, hey, can you take the boat? Let's say Shimon goes to Bezdin, says, can you take the boat? I don't want Reuven chopping it. Can you take the boat and you'll just kind of, keep it safe? I'm going to go bring witnesses and I'm going to prove that it's mine. Tafsinan olo tafsinan. Does Bezdin take possession of the boat or not? Rav Huna Amar tafsinan. Rav Huna says that let Bezdin take the boat because worst case because ideally one of them would bring witnesses and they'd be able to prove that it's theirs. And if they can't, so the boat will go back and then they'll figure it out. But it's not going to be stuck with Bezdin forever, whereas Rav Yehuda Amar lo tafsinan. Rav Yehuda says, no, Bezdin does not take the boat because according to Rav Yehuda, once Bezdin were to chop it, they wouldn't give it back, meaning until it gets resolved. Then they would give it back. But, so according to Rav Huna, sure, Bezdin can take it, and if none of them manage to bring any proof, so they'll release it. According to Rav Yehuda, once Bezdin takes it, they're going to keep it until somebody proves that it belongs to them, so therefore don't give it to them in the first place. Also, if it did end up with Bezdin, either like Rav Huna, that Bezdin would take it, or that maybe they both agreed that we'll give it to Bezdin, okay. And okay, this guy who had said, I'm going to go bring witnesses, did not manage to find witnesses that it belongs to him. So Amalu Abkua Vichol Da'alim Gvar Mafkinon O Lo Mafkinon. So if so I guess if Shimon then says to Bezdin Abkua Vichol Da'alim Gvar. Wait, let me just make sure I okay. Amalu Abkua. Okay, fine. Okay. Yeah, whatever. I guess maybe like Shimon says to them, okay, well, I couldn't find witnesses, so release it and we'll have to figure it out among ourselves. Whoever's stronger, Rashi says, what does Rashi say? V'chol da'olam gvar? Rashbam says, bein b'rayis, bein b'koyach, k'mo sheposuk of Nachman v'fnenu kol da'olam gvar. That, is there more of this? Okay, Gavaldik. I was about to see more of this tomorrow. But anyways, whether one of them can manage to make a stronger case, or the other one can just take it, or whatever it is. So Shimon says, "Okay, I didn't find witnesses." So he says to Bezdin, "Okay, release it, and we'll have to figure it out amongst ourselves." Mafkinon or lo mafkinon. So once Bezdin has it, do they release it or not? Rav Yehuda Amar lo mafkinon. So Rav Yehuda says, "No. Once Bezdin has it, they keep it." What does Rashbam say? The me'achal sheba momen yisrael biad Bezdin einan rashoyin la'afkiro. Once money belonging to Yidden comes to Bezdin, they can't just make it hefker. Rather, at that point, they have to hold on to it until we could figure out who the rightful owner is. So if Yehuda says, no, we can't free this boat once it's been taken. Rav Papa Amar Mafkinon. Rav Papa says that no, we can kind of be mafkir the boat and say, okay, you people figure it out amongst yourselves. V'uchsa lo tavsinon ve'echad tafas lo mafkinon. The halacha is, look, Bezdin shouldn't be taking the boat, but if they did, well then they're going to hold on to it until they can figure out who the rightful owner is. Chevre, that was Daf Lamedalad of Masechta BavaBasra. There was some interesting stuff like with the ingot of we learned what an ingot is, and we learned about the ingot of Rabbi Abba and the different halachas of testimony and swearing and things like that. And then Kol the Olam Gavar started to poke its head. Tomorrow we're going to learn Daf Lamed Hey. Lamed Hey Amud Aleph is all of 6 lines. So, these dafs, there's a good dose of like bava in these dafs, like just enough to like be on your way to mush, but it kind of ends before the mush, which is very, very nice.